welcome back to UnderTheRadarBooks. I'm Brittany, and today I'm going to be doing my recent reads that I have. I'm not sticking to monthly TBRs and wrap-ups right now because things are just so crazy and I never know when I'm going to be able to film and put things up. So I'm just going to talk about some of the most recent books that I have read. And I'm hoping things should be settling down pretty quickly, and I will be back to BookTube at a regular schedule fairly soon, I hope. At least by fall, so we will see, but I'm trying to post videos here and there just because I miss the community so much and it just makes me really happy to do them. So, okay, so some of the stuff that I have read recently include Grim Tales for Young and Old by Philip Pullman. I got this when I was at the airport in Iceland and started it on my way home from our trip, and I really, really love this. It takes older fairy tales and Grimm's fairy tales and basically retells them with a modern sort of twist, but it also talks a lot about where the story might have come from historically, and it has a lot of really interesting information about the origins of the story and the history behind it, and I really, really enjoyed all of those aspects of it, so I would really recommend this if you love fairy tales. And it was just a really fun, quick read, and I would definitely see myself going back to this one and revisiting it. I also have finished Foxlow by Eleanor Wasserberg, and this is another one that I got when I was in Scotland with fellow booktubers. We went on a little book shopping spree, and this isn't out in the States, and so this is one of the ones that was on my list of things to buy while I was there. And this follows a young girl named Green who lives in a cult-like atmosphere at this house called Foxlow, and it follows her. It's a coming-of-age tale of her in this type of environment, and it follows her life and how living in this type of atmosphere affects her for the rest of her life until she is a young adult. And I found this very dark and tragic and interesting, and the language is really fascinating because it shows that as children who live at this Foxlow house, they don't have much of an education, and so the way that they talk is almost in their own type of language. They have their own words and their own way of speaking, and so I found that very interesting and intelligent of Wasserberg to do. It made you feel like you were a part of the story. I ended up giving this 4 stars in the end, and yeah, I just overall really, really enjoyed it. I'm really excited to see what else Eleanor Wasserberg is going to come out with, because I will definitely be following her as an author, and I really, really recommend this. There's not much I can say without giving anything away, and so I just think that if this sounds interesting to you, go ahead and pick it up, and I am sure that you will enjoy it. Next, I read one of my first unwrappings that I did, and so if you haven't checked that out, go back a couple videos, and I did a TBR unwrapping of 2 books that I was going to read, and the first one that I picked was Act of God by Jill Simmons, and I actually buddy read this with Nicola over at Robotnik, and we haven't talked about our final thoughts because we both have a bunch of stuff going on, but we both were enjoying it at about the halfway mark, so I'm sure you will check in shortly and talk about our final thoughts. This follows 2 elderly twins who discover that they have some sort of weird mushroom or fungus growing in their closet, and then they start to learn that the rest of the city is encountering similar situations and that this fungus is toxic. So it is so bizarre, and the characters are so quirky, and it switches viewpoints, which I really enjoyed. It goes from the different twin sisters, also their landlady that they live with, and a young woman who has just traveled here from to England from Russia. And it's really interesting, all the different viewpoints that it goes into. I couldn't help but compare it to a Wes Anderson sort of feeling, just the quirkiness of it, and Charlie wants to come in. But I thought this was so fun. It was such a quick read, and even though it was for the most part very lighthearted, there were some hard-hitting themes behind it, and so I really, really recommend this one. I really enjoyed it, and I gave it 4 stars also. Next is a book I also got in Scotland that is shiny. It is Off the Shelf A Celebration of Bookshops in Verse and it's edited by Carol Ann Duffy, and I thought this was so cute. Such a fun little hardback book, and as far as I know, they're only sold in small, like, independent bookstores. I'm not sure if you can get this online or not, but I like the idea of buying it at a small bookshop in Scotland while I was there. I thought it was a really cool souvenir. So this is all poetry from various authors that talk about their love of books and bookshops, and it was really good. I gave it 3 stars because some of them I just wasn't into, and other ones I absolutely adored, so I just kind of went right in the middle, which I feel like is pretty much the case with any poetry collection or short story collection. There's usually ones you love and ones you don't really enjoy, so I do think this is a great book, and I really highly recommend it if you do come across it to have it on your shelves, because there are some really wonderful poems in here, and especially if you are a book lover, which I assume that you are if you're watching this, you will like this in your collection. The last thing I'm going to talk about is my current read, and that is The Drowning of Arthur Braxton by Caroline Smales, and this is another one that I unwrapped on my TBR unwrapping, and I think like 90 pages. I'm about this far, and this is so different than I thought it was going to be. There's not a lot of information on the back, and you know that it's a coming of age tale, you know that it's kind of dark and almost like a modern fairy tale, so those things are all things that I love in books, but I didn't know that it was going to be so hard-hitting and so gripping. I feel like I want to concentrate on it so much that I only read it when I know that I won't be distracted, because once again, the language is really different. They almost speak in like a slang, and so some of the words, you have to concentrate on the words while you're reading because you're not quite sure what they're saying in some points, but it is also switches from alternating viewpoints. I've only read 2 of them so far, but it is absolutely fascinating. It is really just unflinching and brutally honest, and I can't wait to see how it ends. I will keep you guys posted on my final thoughts, but I have a feeling it's going to be a very high star rating. So these are my recent reads. I've had a really good reading month. I haven't read as many books as I normally do just because we've been so busy, but I have really loved all of the things that I have picked up. And I should have another unwrapping video coming up very shortly, so stick around if you want to see that. And I hope you guys are having a great week. Until next time, happy reading!